Hey Stephanie, so today I figured I would show you my creative spaces just to kind of give you an idea of where the magic happens. So we're gonna go inside. This is our main room where one of my housemates does photography. Well, two of them. One's a model and one is a photographer. But this is mine and the doctor's camera. It's a DSLR 7D. I love it. And this is a ring light, which is really fantastic if I'm doing like a vlog, something small that I don't need full lighting for. And it works like this. Oh my, there we go. So obviously it darkens everything around me behind me. It's really great for vlogs and songs like what I posted for my Mother's Day video. Kind of all dramatic. But it gives you a nice glow, and it's nice to just only have to use one light. And thankfully, because it's LED, it's not really hot and just like, because this room will heat up real fast. Obviously this is the green screen that I occasionally use. I actually need more lights for this so that I can backlight it properly and also light me properly. So it's a fun back and forth on that. I'll probably need to buy some more lights eventually for that. And then this big old mess right here is, oh wow, I need to clean this up. This is where I edit everything. So I got my dual monitors, which is very helpful. My Yeti mic for things that, from everything from live streaming to if I just want to do a quick video with a song, but not necessarily set everything up. But it's a little hard, obviously, because this is not as quiet as the studio. And then this is my HD Logic webcam, so that works. And this is my happy little inspiration wall. Jenny Lawson signed that for me. Those are a bunch of quotes. And this is Red Fraggle, who I got to meet, which is amazing. Ukulele, which I'm still learning slowly to play. And one of my favorite pieces of artwork, which you can kind of see, it is the Firefly ship from Firefly, all written out in quotes, which is very me. Oh, and a bunch of Gravity Falls stuff because I'm a big dork. My inspiration wall is still pretty bare right now, but I'm slowly building it up. I'm also not entirely sold on the location of my desk, so I don't want to get too roomy there. Ideally, I would put it in the studio, but the studio is not very big, as you can see. That, and then usually we listen to things on headphones, but there's this guy. And that is the foam that is supposed to go up on the walls so that you don't have the echo that's happening right now, but we've been kind of busy and bad about getting that up. This thing is intense and terrifies me, but it's what makes everything sound so awesome. And this is the only part I usually mess with at all, and that is obviously the microphone. Now, if anyone's like, oh, I will get that for myself, the thing you need to know about this, it's very important if you're not super familiar with keyboards and controllers, is this is not a typical keyboard. This will not play on its own. This connects to Logic, which is a program on his computer, and he can play through that. You can't just like sit, this is not like a Casio keyboard where you can just sit down and play and whatnot. Most of his, I believe, are this kind, requires a laptop computer and whatnot. Now the reason I wanted to show you this today was because you had asked me to, you challenged me, I believe is the exact phrase, to introduce you to someone who is important in my life. And I thought about this a lot and was like, gosh, there are so many people like that I could go through, whether it's my parents who've always been incredibly supportive towards my artistic endeavors, or my partner who I could not make any of this happen really without, and his musical genius. This is Mark of the Unicorn. I never saw that before. That makes me happy. Spoilers, the doctor knows unicorns. What? So after spending way too much thought trying to figure this out, I finally decided to introduce you to someone who's been a major influence in my artistic endeavors, who I could actually sort of get on camera without complaint, and that would be this guy, Mr. Billy Shakes, or in this incarnation, this is Tiny Shakespeare. I first encountered Shakespeare when I was about 7, maybe 6, because I grew up in a fairly religious family, and we couldn't do a lot on Sundays after church. It had to be things that were quote unquote reverent, because my parents are Mormon, and that kind of varied. Sometimes it was we could watch things on the Disney Channel or G-rated movies, or sometimes we could read books. And I remember one Sunday morning when I was really young, not morning, afternoon, my dad sat me down and he told me he was going to read me some Shakespeare. And I don't remember too much about it. I remember mostly laying on a blanket on top of this horrible burnt orange shag carpet. Our house was very 70s, very 70s. We did not bother to redecorate it much. And I remember he read me Macbeth, which is probably the weirdest play to decide to read a 7-year-old, but I absolutely loved it. And maybe looking back on it, he might have picked it because there are witches and there are curses. It's actually one of the shorter plays. Actually, you know what? That wasn't a really bad idea for a kid my age, because if you want to get a kid interested in something that is misconstrued to be extremely highbrow and, you know, hoity-toity or whatnot, what you do is you give them essentially the superhero blockbuster. I guess for the most part, that's kind of what Macbeth is. It's very, I mean, you've got trees that pick up and move. I mean, not the actual trees, obviously, it's an army, but my father would describe, you know, the stage actions very cinematically. And then I remember him telling me about the supposed curse around Macbeth and how if you ever said the name, because supposedly, if you haven't heard this, the double toil and trouble was supposed to be an actual spell that he stole from actual witches, and so the play was cursed. And if you ever said the name when you weren't rehearsing or performing it inside of a theater, something bad would befall you. And it weirdly became one of my favorite memories of my dad, because I remember if I had a question, like I wasn't sure what something meant, he was very good about explaining it to me. So ever since then, my brain has been kind of captivated by Shakespeare in general. The language, the flow of it, and it's really been a huge influence on a lot of my artistic work. I know you haven't read it yet, but when you do, Alice, my first full-length novel I ever wrote, has a ton of Shakespearean influence. There are a few Midsummer Night's Dreams character running around, Midsummer Night's Dream characters running around, references to Shakespeare himself having actually supposedly been in that world, and the villain, who is called both the Nightmare Queen, and she's my Queen of Hearts. And I don't know if I actually ever referred to her as the Queen of Hearts, maybe once, but I made her the Queen of Hearts in a way that was less, you know, not about hearts. You probably know about iambic pentameter. It's unstressed, stressed. So if it was a beat, it would be, and you'll notice that's also the heartbeat. So her magic is not only couched in words, and words have a huge place in that whole world in general, but not only is her magic couched in that, if you strung all of her dialogue together, you'd notice it's completely in iambic pentameter, except for the very end, where it's deliberately not, it's being broken up. But yeah, it's all, and that was really cool to me, because I just did all this research about this idea, and I was like, okay, iambic is heartbeat. I heard a story from a friend of mine who used to do drums for belly dancers, and he was telling me about a story that had been told to him about that there were villages, I don't know if it's still true, but villages, you know, over in the Middle East that had banned certain beats because they were believed to control the heart. And I just was completely enthralled with this idea, and that's exactly where that villain came about. So the fact that Shakespeare has been such a huge influence in all my work, and not just Alice, but I even have, I haven't released it, but I have a song that I need to get accompaniment for, so I need to give it to the doctor, called Do Not Leave Me Last, which is actually based on one of the sonnets. It's kind of crazy how much this dead fellow who as various theories have suggested, may or may not have existed. I'd like to believe he is. He's kind of like my Santa. He's my good luck Santa or something. I don't know. How much his work has influenced me as an artist, impressed upon me how powerful words could be. Because when you grow up, you get the very sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me. And on some level, I kind of agree with that. No, I don't. I think it's full of bullets. I think words can obviously harm, but they can also do so much good. It's about intent and the right words. So on that note, I figured I will share that song that I mentioned that's based off of one of Billy Shakespeare's sonnets. And before I do that, I'm going to challenge you for next time to show off some of your work, because I know you're an incredibly talented seamstress. You're going to work, you're going to school for fashion, and I would really like to challenge you to proudly talk about your process and show off some of your favorites. And everyone else who is watching, what is something that you're really proud of, whether it's your writing or your singing or your gardening, or I don't care. I don't know what you're really proud of that you do, but I want to hear all about it. And Stephanie, until then, I miss you so much, and we will talk soon. I hope you enjoy the song. Bye.